Countdown, and we are live here this morning on Monday Morning Madness with David Ross. How are you
Hey,
this morning?
how are you? Fine. How are you? Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. If you look on the right, you'll be able to see any comments people put. There's a column there if you click on comments. I don't know if you see that. Have you used StreamYard before?
No, I have not. Very interested in it.
I like the little green bar on the bottom and the name thing, and it's a little bit easier to get up on YouTube than just doing it on Facebook. But yes, indeedy. How's everybody this morning? David and I know each other. We know each other from the Bob Burg's Go Giver Success Alliance. How do you like the Rachel's Coffee on Wednesdays?
I enjoy it. It's neat to talk to a bunch of different people and really hear what their ideas are as far as leadership. So having a good time. Bob is such an interesting guy, and he attracts some really good people like yourself. So we're having I'm just blessed to be in a room with everybody. Even though it's a virtual room, it's still a room.
Now that we're talking on the tape here, I want to hear about you went to Bob's live thing lately.
Yes, I did. I was down in Orlando. Let's see, that was mid-May. We had a blast. There were 12 of us. And, it's amazing how, if you're not in a room that elevates you and excites you, and the way I put it, and this is going to sound tacky, but if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And that's what I felt when I walked in with 12 other entrepreneurs and being able to say, hey, I've got this problem, and everybody brings great ideas and great energy and looks at things in a different way. That's the room I want to be in. And it's so exciting and invigorating to be in those type of rooms.
That seems like it's what we're doing in Rachel's, except in person with a smaller group. Is that what you're doing?
It is. We each brought a unique situation that we wanted to bring. It's a mastermind. What is the thing that we're trying to accomplish? In my role, I was trying to figure out how to take my coaching and speaking and consulting business to another level. I hate to say the next level because everybody says that and nobody really defines it. But to really, focus in on that and do that the best way possible. So as I brought that to everybody and we started talking about it, to be able to be in that room and then be vulnerable enough that you can talk about the things that are really important and drive home into where the problems are, that was huge. And we all got vulnerable. We all were able to, bring things to the table and help each other. And, I've made 12 very good friends that I can rely on to help me go through this process. It's been wonderful. And everybody had unique talents. It wasn't like you're sitting around the room with 12, guys like me, grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, lifelong Steelers fan, and was a financial guy for 20 years. Everybody had unique backgrounds and different experiences, and you get to learn from a different thought process, which is always exciting.
You know what I love about Rachel's too is that we seem to all have that value because of the Go Giver. So, which is a strategy, which I know is your thing.
And it's funny, even before, I was introduced to the Go Giver and heard Bob speak on it at $1 Million Roundtable, I believe, back in 2008, I guess, in Los Angeles. Even before that, though, I was always the kind of person that tried to give. It was, I guess, because, so I grew up in southwestern Pennsylvania, but my mom was from the South. So she had that hospitality mentality and taught that to me. Taught me a lot of things, but that was, she was 5 foot nothing, and she would kick my tail if she ever heard me being mean to anybody or and that was kind of tough, especially for someone who was pretty big. She had her hands full with me, that's for sure. But the idea is that, you be kind to people. You show people that you care and you genuinely want to know what's important to them. And that's what Go Giver is. It's not about me. It's about what can I do for you? And you and I were talking before you hit record or turned it on or whatever you did, and about the idea of sending out cards and sending gifts and saying thank yous. I grew up with that. You always sent a note when somebody came over and you said thank you. And if somebody brought you dinner, you wrote them a handwritten note. I spent about an hour and a half this weekend writing, several handwritten thank you notes to people that attended an event with me where I'm the incoming president for the American Marketing Association chapter in Nashville, which is where I live now and have lived for 27 years. And so I'm the president. We had our big kickoff meeting where we had Bob Berg speak for a little bit. And, we had this big 4-hour session.
I'm recording. Sorry.
That's okay.
I can't do it right now. I can't. Okay.
That's okay.
You say hi to my mom. Say hi to Mom.
Hi, Mom.
I'll take a minute here.
Somebody's going to be calling, which I'm not going to answer. Okay. Okay.
I didn't give him any information.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take care of that afterward. Thank you.
Sorry, Mister.
That's sorry, Mister. She's in it.
That's okay.
I'll come see you after when I'm done it too.
But
never
that's
fails.
Great. But the idea is you say thank you. You say thank you with hospitality. You say thank you with being genuine, and that's the whole idea behind it. So, and you're authentic. You are you. You aren't. You don't have two sides. You're not two-faced. I guess that's the best way to call it.
I wanted to say hi to Eunice. I see you, Eunice. I think you were thinking we didn't see you. Eunice and Scott, my buddy Scott, Penny, and Edith. We see you over there. Scott's my buddy from Ohio, and he and I like to play this game where we say, we text each other about when we see a business doing well and when we see a business messing up. We're like, oh, can you believe he's doing that? Or, oh, can you believe he's doing that? we do that with each other. But the Go Giver thing, I think the thing that's hard for most people to grasp that took me a while, I won't say it didn't, is the give to give, not give to get. So when you're in a business, you want an return on investment. Most people believe everything that you do has to have a measurable return on investment. How do you feel about that?
I think that it's measurable, but I don't think it's measurable in the ways that you can really say, I gave this book to this person, and this person is going to give something back to me. Great example. I was getting onto a plane, and there are several books over the years that I've given to people. The Secret, Raving Fans, The Go Giver, and those are just 3 examples. I'm walking onto a plane going to Boston for a financial conference. There's this gentleman sitting in first class, and in front of the books that I always give, when I owned my financial planning firm, I put in the front a sticker that said "Stolen from Ross Financial Planning. Hope you enjoyed the book."
Well, that's cute.
In the ones I do give now, I put, if you found this, hope you enjoy reading it. Ask Phoenix or Phoenix Consulting, and my name and email address. But as I'm walking through, I noticed the book he's reading, and it's Raving Fans, and it has my sticker in front. And I say, can I ask how you got that? And he said, yeah, I was at a conference and somebody said, I was speaking at this conference and they said, you really need to read this book because it's something similar to what you're speaking on. And they handed it to him, and it was a book that I had given somebody else. And so I said, well, that's really interesting. He said, yeah, I need to call the person that the book is, that gave this person this book and say, thank you. His number's right in the front of the book. I said, you're welcome. It turns out, and actually I'll put this on here. It was, where's the book? The author was Don Yeager, who wrote a book about another David Ross.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And it turns out later, I ended up having him come to Murfreesboro and speak for a nonprofit that I run. He came in and spoke, did a keynote for us because he talks about what makes teams great and those type of things. He's a great speaker. He has 15 New York Times bestsellers, but
Whoa.
That's how he and I met each other. So,
wow.
But that's the idea is that you don't know where that gift is going to come from and how it's going to come. So it's that genuine thought process of I'm putting good things out in the world and things are going to come back eventually. It's not, there's going to be a return on investment, but I don't know where it's coming from. A good friend of mine, do you remember who Cyndi Lauper was?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a good friend of mine is Sandy Gennaro. He was the drummer for Cyndi Lauper. And so when he went and auditioned for Cyndi, it was the song Time After Time. And she said, all I want to hear is the sound of a clock. And so all he did was sat there with a snare drum and a single stick and did the rim shot for 3.5 minutes. And he ended up playing for her for 11 years, or stadium shows and so on and so forth, just because he was able to do exactly what she wanted him to do. Well, the way he got that gig was because he had helped somebody else and did a very small gig in New York City that was way beneath him. He was a professional drummer and wasn't going to do it, but he told the guy he would do it, so he did it. And he ended up getting introduced to Cyndi Lauper's manager. And so he gives it out. You put good things out in the world and they come back to you. And those are the things that you've got to understand. So that return on investment isn't always coming from the place you're investing the money, or you're making the investment of time, or making the investment of the resources. Now, that being said, I do track on a regular basis what I am giving. If I am not giving referrals, if I am not making introductions, I know I need to make at least one quality introduction to someone every day. Every day, whether it's introducing my father-in-law to someone that can fix his dishwasher, which I still haven't been able to find anybody to do that yet effectively, or whether it's introducing Lisa to somebody who she should have on her podcast in the next couple weeks. I need to introduce someone to somebody every day. And I wake up every morning with, how can I do that?
And you're keeping track, not to keep score. You're keeping track to make sure you're putting enough in the pipeline or whatever in the karma. I like to think of it as karma because people relate to that, but most people think karma is only in the bad way, because they say what goes around comes around when they mean it in a bad way. But I think it's also in a good way. So you have to make sure your karma enough out there.
Yeah, and my friend Sandy Gennaro, who I just spoke about, actually is now a speaker. He does a lot of speaking, and he talks a lot about that and how he is a professional drummer, and that good karma that he kept putting out for a number of years took him through the music industry, which is a very tough industry for that to happen, has started him in the speaking industry as well, and has really helped him elevate what his life is. And so those are the things that you've got to remember, is if you're putting, and it sounds hokey to some people, and if you talk to some business people, they look down on it and they say, well, that really sounds like it's excuse me, voodoo or something. It's not. It's just the way the world works. You do something good for someone else and it comes back eventually. And it's not hey, you're a sucker and you believe this and it's bogus. No, it's really isn't. I've seen it too many times. And the reverse happens too. I am a person that I had a fall. 6 years ago, I lost a business, mostly because of my arrogance. Part of it was I was doing the right thing and I wouldn't give into the right thing. I took the extra step and challenged people that weren't doing the right thing. And when you go up against the status quo, or you go up against the establishment, they figure out ways to take you down. I always tell people they won the battle and I won the lawsuit. But when you look at that, I didn't compromise my values. I got out of an industry that I didn't need to be in, even though I was extremely good at it. But it was taking my soul. I was in the financial services industry. I was a leading representative for a large independent broker dealer. My last year there, I was 33rd out of 1,500 reps across the country.
Wow.
And it was one of those things that
that's a tough industry, though. That's a tough industry to be in, isn't it?
It's very tough. But it was funny because in March of that year, my wife and I were in Hawaii. I was speaking at their conference, at their top leaders conference. And we're walking around the beautiful tropics in Hawaii. And she said, "You are absolutely miserable. Let's figure out a way for you to get out." Well, like we said, God liked the idea so much that he figured he would help me with a way out. He also knew I was probably too proud to get out because I liked being at the top of the leaderboard. And I had about 32 spaces I wanted to take over before I went ahead and retired. So he decided to push me out, which was fine. So having fallen, the whole idea for me is, to fall forward, but do it, and the speaking and the thing that I'm talking to people about, and I'm developing a book, is Falling Forward, a Go-Giver's Journey, to talk about the idea of taking these ideas, and once you fall, how do you rebuild yourself with that mindset? And it's tough. There are some days you wake up and you don't want to do it, but I'm enjoying it. I feel like as I'm talking more about it, because it's been 5 years, really, getting that idea around, who I really am, and getting back to that level of, I guess that level of confidence is really invigorating. So.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I can relate to that some. I thought that I was master of all things when I bought a Curves franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And of course that went down in flames miserably. 4.5 years I hung on. I lost more money. That was a tough money loss. But what was the hardest, I think, was shook my confidence to make decisions, because I thought I obviously didn't know what I was doing. Matter of fact, what I learned from that whole thing was the definition of density per population, as we were talking about beforehand, because I didn't realize buying in, which I should have, that to own a type of gym like that, you need to have so much population within 7 miles of it and the density per population here isn't big enough for that. So, but that was a tough to get something and fail at it so big money wise. That shook my confidence for other things. So that you found that to be true for you too.
Yes, ma'am. And that's the one thing that with my, and if you look at my LinkedIn profile, you'll notice that I have an undergraduate and a master's in music. So I'm a jazz musician. I moved to Nashville for the jazz music scene, which was not here.
Wow.
27 years ago. But I was always a business person, and my family, I grew up in southwestern Pennsylvania. I was sweeping floors in a retail store when I was 5 years old.
Wow.
We had real estate. We had retail stores, just a lot of different businesses. And after I got my undergraduate and first master's degree, I went back and got my MBA and started in the financial planning business. But I've always consulted different businesses, helped spin up different businesses, write business plans, develop strategies. So that's always been real close to what I've done. And as I sit down with businesses now and do coaching and help people, develop strategies for their ongoing business, I always tell people, like I did when I was a financial planner, I tell them what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. And thinking about things like, well, you're going to put a curves in, pardon the expression, BFE, New Hampshire. And there's 6,000 people in 50 square miles.
Right.
There's really not enough population there.
And I don't know why I didn't think of that. What I was thinking of is I was number 5 in Avon in the country. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't thinking the skill set was going to be hugely different because the customer base was the same. Mm-hmm. But I didn't realize local is a lot different of a skill set than national business.
Yeah. So. Well, when you have to go to where the bricks and mortar is in order to get the service, that's a big difference. And of course, a lot of that has changed even now. But still, those are the steps that when you talk to businesses, one of the first things I talk to when I talk to a business or a potential entrepreneur or coaching client is, how do you monetize it? How do you, I understand you have a passion for this business, but how do you actually make money from it? Because if you can't make money from it, it's not a business, it's a hobby. And, so many business owners have purchased businesses and they end up buying a job.
Oh,
they don't buy a business.
They need to consult with you before they open, before they buy, but that's probably not usually when you end up talking with them.
Every once in a while you get lucky and you'll have a discussion. I've got several business brokers that will send me clients and they say, you really need to talk to this person before you actually buy a business, just to make sure you've got the right mindset. And usually it's the best $2,500, $3,000 that they'll spend to have a conversation and really talk about what it is you need to do to buy a business and the kind of mindset you need to have. Because you're just not buying a cash stream. In a lot of these businesses, you got to work in it. A friend of mine originally bought the ability to purchase up to 6 franchises for Little Caesars Pizza when Little Caesars made their resurgence back in about 2004. And, he was smart enough to figure out that he needed to figure out what all of the steps were, what were the procedures that he needed to have in order to do it and do it right. So he perfected his first store. He perfected all the procedures, had everything down to where this is what we do, this is how much cheese we need, and had it all done for that first store, and almost waited to too late to execute the other 5 buys. But because he did everything so specific and very detail oriented on the first one, The other 5 just went flawlessly.
Oh, nice.
Because he spent the time to make sure he had his procedures built on the first store. And the great thing about it was Little Caesars handed him a book and said, here are the procedures you should use. They had it all laid out for him. Well, when you talk to Little Caesars and you say, at least back then, he would say, how many people will actually listen to these procedures? And they'll say, most of them don't, and they try to do it their own way, and then they lose the franchise or they give up the franchise. But he was smart enough to see that book and say, okay, I'm going to follow these procedures and make sure that I've got them right. So
well, that's what you
very
pay
successful.
for. Yeah, you know who that's, sorry about the dog. I should have warned
you. That's
okay. This is my real life. Welcome to it.
Well, mine are around my feet. They're just not making any noise right now.
Well, no, and Grammy, what's funny is, of course, at 1 o'clock, she had all morning to come ask me something. And she somehow has like a beacon. The minute I hit the record button, she comes to the door. I don't know how that works, but the dog too. The dog seems to, yeah. But anyway, you know who that sounds like what you were describing and stuff is, do you watch Marcus Lemonis?
No, I don't.
Oh, you've got to watch him. Oh, David, you're missing. He's on, he's a business owner. He's the one that does the RV place, the Good Sam's. Oh, I watched the show that he does. And
is it the Lazy Days RVs?
No. Is it Sam Goody? And then the RV place is Camping World. Camping World. He's the CEO of Camping World. But it's not, the show that he does isn't about that. It's about the profit, fixing other people's businesses.
Okay. Yeah, I think I have seen that, but
he's like procedures. And he says you have to nail down the first one, because he goes and sees a lot of people who say they want a franchise, but they're not getting the first one right.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think that's funny. The Little Caesars, they should have a book. That's what they're paying for, right? They should.
Well, and it's funny, if you look in, I was looking at the list. I do a lot of reading, as I'm sure most coaches do. And I was looking at the list of the top franchises this year, and they give you how many franchises they have, what the cost is to get in them, and all that kind of stuff. All of those companies, all they're doing is they are selling a book of processes and procedures that you should follow. And if you follow them, you will be successful. That's all they're selling you. It's not, and most of them are very similar. So if you buy a Firehouse Subs, it's going to be very similar to what the stuff that they're going to tell you about with a Jimmy John's. That's going to be very similar to what you're going to do with a Dunkin', except maybe, its donuts are much better than Jimmy John's, in my opinion. So the idea is that that's what you're paying them to do. And it's amazing to see how many people that will invest the millions of dollars in some of those franchises and not do what they're telling you. Yeah, just don't do it. It's insane. A friend of mine started to buy a Martinizing franchise, the 1 hour Martinizing, the dry cleaning companies. They were making a resurgence, and they were changing their model where they were doing some different things with an app and drop boxes and that kind of stuff. And he started going through it, had to go up to their headquarters in Wisconsin, and went through a 1.5-day session before he could even make the investment. And then as he started looking at it, he was like, something just doesn't feel right about it. And so I started asking him questions, and come to find out, they were selling him the ability to possibly buy out somebody that already had a franchise. The thing they hadn't done was identify if any of the other people that had franchises wanted to sell. None of them wanted to sell.
Yeah.
And so it was like he paid $50,000 for the ability to ask people if they want to sell. Nobody wanted to sell. And so he was locked out of where he wanted to be. So we ended up finding him an attorney, and he got his money back. He didn't listen to me on the front side, but we were able to fix it on the back. But that whole idea is, they have a successful system. That's a company that's been around for 60 years, and they've been successful. Nobody wants to get rid of it. I have never heard of anyone getting rid of a McDonald's. Have you?
No.
Have you ever heard of anyone selling a McDonald's? I haven't. I don't think I've ever heard of anyone selling a Dairy Queen.
Well,
I mean,
that's a
Dairy
good
Queen
point.
fell on some hard times. My relatives own one up in Pennsylvania. They bought it from somebody because the matriarch passed away. The person that ran it passed away. And so they bought it. They were family friends. The family part of my family that owns it is on third generation running that Dairy Queen. And it's in Uniontown, Pennsylvania, 13,000 people there. It's not going anywhere. So.
What's funny is the majority of people listening to us that watch the show are in direct sales. Now, this seems like the things we're talking about wouldn't be very similar, but you'd be amazed that the companies do have not necessarily an instruction booklet like a franchise would have, but we also didn't pay $100,000 to get it. But people seem to want to make it more complicated than it is. Matter of fact, my main gig, I tell it, it's always going to be about, in my opinion, you can be successful at anything if enough people know what you do. So you don't have to do something wild and big and different. You just have to let people know what you do every day. So put a book in their hand, say, hey, do you want anything from that? If you just did that alone 12 times a day, you would be successful. And I think it's funny people try to make things more complicated. So do you feel that true too? You'll make things more complicated.
And there are so many people that are ashamed to be in sales. I'm a knuckle dragging sales guy. I tell people that all the time. I grew up, again, I was pushing a broom in a retail store when I was 5, selling sporting goods. When I was in college, there you go, puppies. When I was in college, I was selling pianos and organs in a mall store. There you go. So if you remember in the malls when they would have the guy that would sit down and play the organ and with the one-touch piano and do all that stuff, that was me.
Oh, that's neat.
So, here I am, a 19-year-old kid selling those pianos and organs. And if you can sell a $30,000 organ in a depressed coal town in southwestern Pennsylvania in the late 80s, you can sell pretty much anything. Ice to Eskimos, whatever.
Lowry?
No, it wasn't Lowry. We were actually, the company I worked for was called Keyboard World. They used to be a Lowry dealer, and then they moved over to Yamaha. So we were a Yamaha dealer. And, I was their top salesperson part-time, and I was their top salesperson for the entire company for several years while I was in college. And so, but I was never ashamed of the fact that I'd sit out there and I'd play and, make all the cool sounds for Danger Zone and whatever else. And, or if Moon River if older people would come by, I'd do a waltz, I'd do Moon River, and then they would come in and buy. And where people get into trouble, and this is everybody, is where they lose sight of what their actual focus should be. Sounds like your dog right now is focusing on the mailman who's bringing the mail, or.
No, you know what it is I have a lawn service. I call them because it's 2 trucks, 3 guys, and they usually do it really fast. Unfortunately, they're doing it right now. So not only are we going to have to contend with the dog barking, but pretty soon we're going to have to contend with the lawn guy. I'm thinking I should probably move into the other part of the office to try to. Welcome to my world. Right. Yeah, I'm thinking let's go for a little walk.
Okay.
Should
we be playing some music as we're walking to the other part of the house?
This will be fun. Come on, dog. We're going on a field trip. Okay, dog. Oh, Lord. Yeah, I haven't had quite this problem before. Yay! Come on. Hopefully this will work. Yay! Oh, sorry about that, David.
Oh, no worries.
Oh, there's nobody out here. That's a good sign. Okay, so now here we go. This might be, oh, of course the lighting's worse.
That's
Yay!
okay. There you go.
Yay!
Until the dogs follow you in there, you'll be okay.
Well, the dog's in here with me, but hopefully they're doing the back first. So sorry about that. We do have, I said hi to Edith already, but Helen's on from California and Sherry's on from Albuquerque. So we're seeing everybody this afternoon.
When I see someone there from Bradford, Pennsylvania, of course, I said earlier, I'm from Uniontown, which is down in the southwestern corner. So just we're actually probably closer to West Virginia than Pennsylvania, but we're.
I actually did a seminar in Uniontown, if you can believe
really?
that. Yeah, I have a buddy that lives there, Brian Seaton. I don't know if you know him. It's bigger than that, I'm sure. But at the time, he was with the same company I am and hired me to come do a seminar.
Oh, wow.
I did a lot more speaking for a while. Are you an NSA, National Speakers Association?
No, I'm not. Not yet.
Oh, you might want to do that. That was actually like boot camp. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot. You know, my favorite thing I learned helped me in life too, by the way. I used to believe everybody had to love me. Mm-hmm. And then in the Speakers Association, they assured me that that's not the case. No, they said in every audience, if there's 100 people, probably 20 of them will love you. And 20 of them will hate you. Even though you might have done a good job, you're a nice person, and your presentation was spot on, there are going to be about 20 people that hated you out of the 100. And then there's going to be a whole group, about 60, that could carry either way. So your job isn't to convince the not caring people or the hater people. Your job is to love the 20 and go to the next location and find the other 20. Mm-hmm. And then the next location, find the other 20. That helped immensely with my business, believe it or not. But you already knew that? Why was that news to me?
Well, everybody learns different things in different ways.
Yeah, that's where I met Bob Berg, actually, was the New England chapter of the National Speakers Association. He went there and spoke at a meeting I was at. Mm-hmm. So I don't do as much of that. Is that what you're going towards, or is that what you're doing now, is live speaking?
That's what I'm going towards. So right now my focus is a couple-fold. I've got a real day job. I'm a director of entrepreneurship for a technology company, Dev Digital, out of Nashville.
Whoa! Oh, that's awesome.
So we specialize in building apps, websites, doing high-end custom coding for companies. Do a lot of different types of projects, which is interesting. I've always wanted to work in the technology space, so it's very interesting to me. But I'm also enough of an entrepreneur that know that I can't be working for someone for very long. And so my idea is to ramp up between the consulting, which I've got several consulting clients, get some speaking stuff going as well, and then also looking to get back on some board of directors for some smaller companies, which nice. That's actually coming along. So
awesome.
We're empty nesters. So my youngest is just getting out of the house. He's going away to college a couple weeks. So it's time for us to two girls and a son. Yeah. So I've got a 23-year-old girl who is going into medical school up in Wisconsin. My 21-year-old is at Austin Peay University studying marketing. And then my 18-year-old is heading to Huntington College, and he's a soccer player. So he's wants to do sports management, but COVID messed up some of the soccer stuff, but he's pushing through it, and I'm proud of all of them, but he's he's got a drive that I don't know where he got it from. So.
Oh, Scott said, my buddy Scott, that we always do the strategy texting back and forth. He said, I have no intent of ever working for anyone but me the rest of my life. And actually, Scott started working just for himself. What was that? Year and a half, maybe 2 ago. So, and he's not looking back. He is so smart about, he says, I run profit centers, because he finds as soon as something doesn't look like it's paying as much as he needs, he's off doing some other stuff. Even if it's Ubering, even if it's DoorDash, even if it's no matter what it is, he's off there making the money come in. Oh, 3 years, November 1st. Thank you.
Wow.
So I love it.
It's funny. So last year at this time, I was not looking for something else. And the owner of Dev Digital, a guy named Peter Markham, who is an incredible entrepreneur, I had introduced him to somebody who he ultimately hired to kind of go into the healthcare space for him, and a friend of mine. And then after we were done, he said, hey, why don't you come to work with me? And he is a very smart entrepreneur, and I felt he was somebody I could learn from, and I have learned from him. But I always had felt it was, and I told him, I said, I want to learn from you. I want to, get some knowledge and understanding. It can be a great relationship, mutual relationship. I'm fine with that, and that's how it is. It's really good. I'm learning stuff. Helping his organization, and he's helping me learn. So that's, and I agree with you, Scott. I will never really work for anyone. I'll work with people all day long, but I'm not going to be anybody's employee anymore. So.
Yeah, I don't think that it would ever come up for me again, because they wouldn't keep me long. They'd send me on my way. Yeah. Yeah, the last time I had a boss, I got desperate when I first went full time in direct sales. Worked for a bank. I think it was 6 weeks. At that time, this was in the 80s. They required women to wear 2-inch heels. Now,
oh, wow.
I know you may not be an engineer, but put all this on 2-inch heels, and that's a no-go right there. So I had to end up telling them they didn't deserve someone like me on their staff, which they thought was funny. Yeah. Yeah, I had a way. But it's funny how I think you have to not listen to the people around you. You're tempted. I don't know how you feel about that, but like my family still, and I've been earning good money for many, many years now, and they still are like, one of my cousins said, I don't know why you bought such a big house. At any moment you could fall flat on your face. And it's like, it's no matter, they just don't have confidence in what I'm doing. But luckily, after all this time, I don't need their confidence to keep going. It's my own that I have to worry about. So how do you feel about that? Do you have support more from your family, or it's not important to you?
My wife is supportive. It was hard for her, though, because her father worked for the federal government for 30 plus years.
Oh, wow.
And her mother was the director of schools. And so they had that, they work for somebody else, they, get a steady paycheck and all that kind of stuff. So it was difficult, and it's been difficult. But, when you go from, and I from famine to feast to famine to, whatever, there's just no other way to work. I never want to cap on what I can earn. And I want, you are making exactly what you're worth. Your one of the laws that Bob talks about, the law of compensation, Bob Berg talks about, is, you will earn exactly what your value is to the marketplace. And I know what my value is. I know that I can get out there like your friend Scott. I know I can run profit centers. 3 years ago, I also drove Lyft. Nashville was booming. They were trying to get Lyft drivers like crazy. Lyft moved their corporate headquarters here, one of their headquarters here. So they had to have a big presence. So they were paying people crazy bonuses to do it. And if you had a nice car, they were paying you even more. And I just said, you know what? screw it. I'm going to do it. I was working 40 hours a week and making almost $2,000 a week driving Lyft. So, you do the things that you want to do and can do to support your family. And by the same token, I got a lot of time to read some good books. I met some interesting people, met some not so interesting people.
Yeah, but I think Lyft and Uber are almost like a direct salesperson's dream, as far as they should do it on the side, because like the ones that I know doing that put their brochure from their company in the back seat pockets. Mm-hmm. And when the passengers, the friendly ones, always ask you about stuff, you have a chance to tell them what you're doing. And I've gotten a lot of customers, and being the customer, not the driver. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a dream that way. Scott says, if you worry about every little thing that could happen, you won't get anything done. Living in fear doesn't work. Absolutely. Although everybody this year has totally forgotten that principle, I think. Everyone thinks they know what is best for you. Well, they don't know me then. You also meet some neat people on those Lyft and Uber connections. Yeah, I think it's a great side gig myself. Even a full-time gig, $2,000 a week's nothing to sneeze about.
Well, Nashville is a very unique market, especially when you had, the Eclipse, and you've got all the country music fest and all that kind of stuff going on. I mean, there were times. I mean, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, we had our my main gigs convention down there not too long ago. I think it was 3 years ago. So that was very nice. They must have a lot of that kind of thing going on too.
They do. Of course, the pandemic really killed it, but it's coming back with a vengeance.
Right. Yeah. I was going to say, everybody's just absolutely chomping at the bit to do something now, including me. Mm-hmm. Do you have any trips lined up? Because I do now.
Yeah. So of course, I was just down in Orlando. I go back to Orlando in September. Just got back from DC. I'm going up to Pittsburgh. I think I'm going to San Antonio. And then I'm also, I've just picked up a job where I'm going to be teaching, doing some direct coaching in Vegas, LA, Chicago, New York, and Orlando.
Wow.
So I'm gonna be a little busy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and your wife will get to have the house to herself. Finally,
well, no, she's actually.
Oh, she's going.
Yeah, she's going to go with me. So
nice.
She's got enough comp time and stuff built up that she's going to finally start to do some of this traveling with me and get to go see some things that when I had my financial planning firm, I had clients all over the country. So I would spend a lot of time in different cities. So now she's actually going to get to go see some of these places that, I've always told her about. And she was
raising the three. Yeah. I don't know. By the way, that is beyond my scope of imagination because I have one kid and my one kid is 16 now. And of course, my mind is blown for anything else. 3 kids, I can't even. Yeah, I can't even imagine.
She did it all. I just funded it.
That's important too. Yeah, but that's still I don't know how she did 3. That's beyond my.
Again, she did it. I funded it.
So you don't know either. I don't know. It's funny. One of Bob's friends, I won't say who it is because I hold him in low regard. I'm kidding. This is sarcasm. Mm-hmm. But he gave a speech at the event I did go to of Bob's down in Florida. It wasn't like the mastermind. It was a whole room full of people. But he had this speaker and he has 8 kids. And his speech was on the evil of multitasking. And I thought, oh, you simple man. You obviously don't check in with your wife very often because there's no way that she has 8 kids and isn't multitasking.
Yeah, well, men can't multitask.
Well, women have to if they have 8 kids. Trust me. She's doing laundry and dishes all at the same time while she's doing 12 other things because She has 8 kids. Wow.
Well, my kids make fun of me, but on my desk, I have a sign that says focus, finish, next.
Oh,
That
okay.
I have to focus on a certain project, get it done, and then go to the next one. So as an example, and I use time blocking quite a bit. So because I've got several things in the air. So like this morning, my first hour, I was working on stuff for AMA Nashville. Then the next 2 hours, I was working on stuff for Dev Digital, including having a video call. Then I had some stuff with whatever else. Now I'm on your call. Actually, it was First Shot. Now I'm on your call. Then I've got 5 hours worth of Dev Digital stuff. Then I end up with another AMA function. So that's my day. That's my 12 hours. You know, and that is what my days are every day. But I can't sit there. I have to focus on that specific thing at that time. And if I deviate from it, yeah, I'll blow up the whole day. Fortunately, I'm smart enough to know that.
Do you think that's a personality type, or do you think that is hooked to gender?
Probably a little of both.
Oh, okay.
I think there are some people like, yeah, I think it's a little of both. It is pretty gender specific though. I don't know many guys that can multitask. I just
Really?
not well. The minute I figured out I couldn't do it well was a very good day.
Yeah. Well, no, that's part of your strategy. You know, we're not talking enough about strategy. Strategy is actually one of my favorite things to talk about. Mm-hmm. And I think it's because in direct sales, most of my colleagues don't understand that they either need to come up with a strategy and realize what it is and do it, or not picking a strategy is also a strategy. And then you're just following somebody else's strategy, and chances are it benefits the other person.
Mm-hmm. So, well, and it's as simple as when you walk into a room, knowing who you want to talk to, what kind of conversation you want to have, and what do you want to find out about that person. So I've got a call at 2:00 my time with a new client. And I've got a half dozen things that I need to find out about what their needs are. I have thought about that in advance. I have it all mapped out. I understand exactly what I need to get from the call. And I'm not just walking into a call blind. I've done my research and I understand what those things need to be in order for us to move to the next step and for us to be able to serve them the right way.
Now, we need to be doing that about customers and team members and stuff in a business or a sales situation too. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So you wanted how many people how many orders you're gonna write up in a day, or how many people you're gonna get in front of.
Well, and it's even as simple as this. When I was working in the piano and organ store, you know, you start out by, because anytime you when somebody walks up to you in a store, you say, "No, thank you, I'm just looking." You don't even listen to what the person says. And that's usually the response to, "Can I help you with something?" "No, thank you, I'm just looking." Well, I would always say, always things, "How are you doing today?" They'd say, "No, thank you, I'm not looking, I'm just looking." "No, I didn't ask. I asked you, how are you?" You know, and all of a sudden they're taken back. Well, that was my strategy. I wanted to get a conversation going. I was 19 and I figured that out. If somebody just pushes you off and says, "No, thank you," they put up that wall. You can't start having a strategic conversation about, you know, what does this person, because they walked into the music store for a reason. You don't just walk into a store unless you're looking for something, right? Okay. So let's figure that out. You know, websites are horrible at this, because a lot of websites are built and they'll have all this great stuff. They never have a call to action. They never have something to draw people in and to engage them. The little chat bots, as mad as they make you sometimes, because they keep popping up and saying, "Oh, hey, what can we?" They're phenomenal. A friend of mine when they put one on their website for their for their car business. Their car business went up 30%.
Wow.
And the only thing they could attribute it to was the chat bot, because people would start saying, "Oh yeah, because when you went to their certain site, and I'm looking at this vehicle, and hey, what would you like to know about the Mercedes?" Well, it's machine learning. So it's got canned responses. It's a Sunday. Their shop isn't even open. But I put in my information, did it. I drove home with the car on Tuesday.
Whoa.
Okay. Now, I was going to do it anyway. It was my friend's shop. But still, I asked him about it. He said, our business has gone up by 30% because of that stupid chat bot. So,
and you know what? In our main gig, a lot of people are in here with me. There's a chat thing that goes directly to us.
Mm-hmm.
So we can use that without necessarily, it's not a bot, it's us.
Mm-hmm.
So
start using
that's
it.
a good, yeah.
Turn it on. You will be shocked. And even if you have the autoresponder that says, "Hey, I'm not available right now, but put in your information, I'll get right back to you," it works. It is insane how much it works.
So it's the customer service angle. People want to feel like they're getting taken care of.
They want to feel like you care.
Yeah. And, that's what, before we started, we were talking about send out cards more.
Yep.
And I send thank you notes. You were doing hand ones. I do on send out cards just because it's easier. When I talk to them, when I have any interaction with somebody after they buy from me, I send them cards. So I'm all into it.
Oh yeah, I've got books, I've got cards, I've got you name it. But it makes sense. It helps. And I do make sure you send me the link on send out card, because I'm sure my old account is not active. I forgot.
Oh, don't worry, I will.
But I know. I figured you would.
Yeah. I like the way
candy.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. So I warned you ahead so you could pick. So at the end of every Monday Morning Madness, my guest gets to pick cookies, brownies, or sea salt caramels, and David is picking
sea salt caramels.
Yes, that's a favorite. Their number one bestseller is actually, do you know what that is? I bet you do know. If you've had any
chocolate chip cookies.
No, it's their the brownies.
The brownies, okay.
Yeah, that was their number one. They recently had a few days where they weren't available, and now they're back. So, yeah, some kind of, I don't know, chocolate shortage in the world or something. So, but they're back now. That would
be a sad world.
Right, right. Almost as bad as like a coffee shortage or something. What the heck?
Yeah.
So anyway, that is, what would you say was your customer that you're looking for to coach with? So if somebody's listening to this and they're thinking, am I a good fit for David's service? What does that look like, so that the people listening would know whether they're a good fit to be a customer for you?
Most of my coaching clients are in a beginning stage of a business for right now, and they're having a hard time getting to breaking through a certain level of complexity. Dan Sullivan calls it in the Strategic Coach a ceiling of complexity, where they get to a certain place and they can't break through to that next level. That is usually where I come in, because I am pretty good at taking a look at, okay, this is where your business is, this is where it needs to go, and you need to take a look at these steps in order to fix it. Maybe it's not having the right people in the bus, on the seats of the bus. Maybe it's not having the processes in place. Most of the time, it's just not selling. And that's really where I end up, doing sales coaching, making sure they're thinking of things the right way and bringing value to their clients.
That's the dog's growling because the landscape guy's coming around the side of the building. Thank goodness we're near the end, though. But I want to thank you very much. I'm gonna probably sign off for now with a thank you to you, just because I know barking is going to start shortly. But
You can hear the growling.
Right, he's growling, and it's not my stomach, it's the dog. When you do have your book ready, I hope you'll let us know, because we have the group there, Monday Morning Madness, and I like to keep up on who we've had for special guests. And I will be putting this up on YouTube, and also be putting your URL in the comments in the YouTube channel. So
Great.
I hope.
Thank you very much, Lisa. And there he goes.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, David.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.